But I call today's talk Hope in Front of Me. You know, it's not hope for something behind me. It's hope for what I can see, that I can understand it, that I can accept it, that I can experience it in love and wisdom and joy. That kind of hope. That's what I need. And there is a difference between hope and faith, and I wanted to read it because sometimes I forget things. And I don't care. That's what we have Google for. Because people like me forget things. So biblically we are told that there is a difference between hope and faith. In 1 Corinthians 13:13 it says, "Now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." See, if faith and hope were the same, they wouldn't be listed separately. And I think the greatest difference is that hope is based on the belief that something will happen. Faith is based on the belief that it already has happened, whether I can see it or not. Does that make sense? Does that work logically? Yeah, I'm hoping this will happen. The other is, I know this has happened, and I can't wait to see it. And that's where we have to decide where we want to be with our good. Are we hoping that our good is going to happen? You know, it's kind of, we have new cars coming. I'm hoping they will come. I don't necessarily have faith that they're already here, because it's been so many times now I've heard they're here and they haven't seen them yet. And so I have to, some of you understand, you've dealt with the same broker we have. And so to look at that, now I have to look at how much does it mean to me? What I'm hoping will happen. Is it important to me that this will happen, or is it just something I think I'd like to experience? But the important, when it comes down to it, is not what we're hoping for in the world or what we have faith in the world. It's the inside. It's the internal. What are you hoping for, and what do you have faith that has already taken place and you just don't know how to yet do with it? You just haven't seen the ways and the means to experience it, to act on it, to embrace it. And I think that's it, because that's what then manifests in our world. But we keep making the world cause rather than effect. It's the inside that is cause. And we are in charge. Each of us here as individuals are in charge. And if we are telling ourselves, well, it's always been this way, so how could I change it? Well, really, has nothing else changed in your life? Really, look at your life. How much has changed from what you thought? And I get it. It still goes back to, yeah, but I don't know if this one will. I do not know if this one, well, what is it? You flip a coin. It's still 50-50 chance that it will come up heads. Even if it's come up heads 50 times, 51 could still be tails. It's 50-50 chance. And so I don't know if this will be the time. But that's right. I don't know. But what I know as Shawn, is if I shift my thinking, I will know things I didn't know before. And I will know how to perceive things in a way that I had not before perceived it. For instance, my childhood. I decided I wanted to know about love. I wanted to know how to love my family. And I found out the way to know how to love your family is by loving them. So years ago we went to see The Passion of the Christ, that movie. We were invited to someone's home. And afterward, I'm not going into what I think of the movie, that's none of your business right now. We'll go to lunch to talk about that. The point is, someone afterward from Mel Gibson's company said, how do we get this out there? How do we let them know how Jesus loved everybody? And I said, well, how about we love everybody? And you'd have thought I came from planet somewhere else. Because they still wanted to make it about him and not about what we have. Anything Jesus had, I have. And as he told me, and when I read in my Bible, I will do it greater. That's what Jesus said. You will do the things I do, and you will do them greater. He didn't say you will do them almost as good. He didn't say you'll never understand this. He did say there will always be poor among you. But unfortunately, that seems to be the case. But it's not poor money-wise. It's poor in understanding and willingness. It's those who don't really want to know. Are you one of those people who don't really want to know? You like the idea of spirituality. You like the idea of overcoming the past. You like the idea of it all, but you don't really want to know. Because then everything would change and they would get away with it, it seems. But who would I be without that story of what they did? I'll tell you who I am with a new story about my childhood. I'm happier. I'm more free, and I can love my mother, and I can love my father, and I can love my brothers, at least from childhood. I got a couple of current things I'm holding out on with my brothers, but my mother and father, off the hook. They've been dead a while now. They've not created anything new. But I've got brothers on the planet and sisters on the planet I'm holding out on. And it's so foolish and so unnecessary. This week, I'm working very diligently on releasing complaining. Just general, the general complaining. And I'm working very diligently on not judging those who do. I am doing my work, my internal work, to look at my brothers and my sisters in love rather than judgment. Because I have faith. That was somebody's messenger going off on their phone. But there are no coincidences. I have faith that we are already good. We are already good. We are already good. We are already good. And I've been playing a nasty game for a few years that maybe we aren't. And it's brought me down. It's not that you, meaning the general human race, has brought me down. I've brought me down in my judgments. I've brought me down in my forgetting. And I remember when I knew how good I was. Most of you know I'm 12-step recovery. And yesterday I heard something. And somebody was sharing how they about what you can or cannot drink. Now, I can't drink. Well, of course I can. The thing is, I can't and be sober. I can't be unsober and sober at the same time. And I thought, why would I ever want to give up sobriety? Sobriety is not about abstinence. Sobriety is about understanding the higher power. Sobriety is about an understanding of love. Sobriety is an understanding and a willingness to know that we are all a fellowship of men and women who are seeking to guide ourselves and each other to a higher way of thinking. What if it were your responsibility to guide yourself and your brothers and your sisters to a higher way of thinking? Do you think that scolding them for mistalking is the fastest and easiest way to get them to greater understanding? Yeah. Do you think criticizing them and shaming each other and yourself is the fastest path? But you nodding your head, yes. That's the fastest path. Yeah, that's my speedy path. You're bad. Wake up. And so I find for me it's a pretty much 24-hour job. 24-hour day job of awakening myself to true thoughts, of awakening myself to honest thoughts, of realizing, oh, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. Sometimes the other way around. And so getting rid of the quote-unquote bad will not get me the good I desire. But taking on the good I desire will just leave the stuff I call bad in the dust, because there won't be any time for it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So, I want to look at a couple of things here. And this is why I like the word Christ. This is why I really like the word Christ. I didn't grow up with any understanding of the word Christ. I really didn't. I heard Jesus Christ. I thought that was his last name, quite frankly. I didn't know better. No, in the Presbyterian church, nobody explained to me. And at the Church of Christ, it was all about Jesus. It wasn't about a consciousness. And so I came to Unity, and that's where I learned the difference. That's where I really began to embrace Jesus. That's where I really began to embrace the word Christ. I began to embrace a lot of religious terms that I had dismissed because they were religious terms, and I didn't like them. I was having a conversation on Thanksgiving about this with somebody. Often I hear, oh, I'm Jewish. It's just too Jesus-y there at Unity. I mean, David here calls it Junity. And I haven't told this story in a while. One year, Dave, I couldn't get the Christ candle lit at Christmas, and he came up to help me. And then Ed Davidson, who calls it Champel, he came up to help too. And suddenly Ed's wife says, "How many Jews does it take to light a Christ candle?" And so we're talking about this, and I find there's such resistance, as if your childhood teaching matters in setting you free. When somebody said, "Oh, I watched your video, and you just, all that Christ stuff and all that," I said, listen to what I'm saying, not to your past. Listen to what I'm saying now and see if it resonates with you at all, to set you free, to include you in an awakening. That's what I ask of you. Embrace what I'm saying and then pray on it and see if anything I'm saying is guided to freedom rather than bondage. So, Christ. Christ in the Metaphysical Bible, actually it's in the Revealing Word, which is a little dictionary of metaphysical terms. Christ is the divine idea man. Jesus is the name that represents an individual expression, the Christ idea. Christ is the only begotten Son of God, or the one complete idea, perfect man in divine mind. It is the embodiment of all divine ideas, such as intelligence, life, love, substance, and strength. In the architect's mind, there may be one masterpiece, but that masterpiece is the sum of all the beautiful ideas that have come to his mind. The Christ or perfect man idea, existing eternally in divine, is the true spiritual higher self of every individual. Each of us has within him or her the Christ, just as Jesus had. And we must look within to reorganize and realize our sonship, or our daughtership, if you want that. Our divine origin and birth, just as Jesus did. By continually unifying ourselves with the highest by our thoughts and words, we too shall become sons of God manifest. Now, the second coming of Christ, I said before, we could say that the idea of Christ, or the Christ itself, was first awakened in Jesus, but I think it was awakened in a lot of people in our history. Jesus is the one famous for it. And as I said, the second coming is when it's awakened in me. That is what we have to look forward to. And hopefully we don't have to wait long. It will only happen if we put it off, if we delay the journey to our own awakening. And I promise, if you allow it to awakening you, you can still have fun. And you can still swear. Old thoughts and old conditions are as waters that have passed away. In Christ I am conscious of new life, new strength, and new health. The statements that we are to get the word into the minds and into the mouths of all people everywhere, because repetition is the mother of wisdom. What we're talking about is our affirmations. People sometimes think that just merely repeating a word doesn't make any impression upon the understanding, but it does. See, an affirmation will not make a thing true, but it will continuously remind us of what is true. And some of these affirmations I was given, I just love. In Christ, I am conscious of new life. Day by day, in every way, I am getting new life. Day by day, in every way, I am getting new health. I am getting new strength. Day by day, I am. Day by day, I am. Day by day, I am. Christ in me is a new consciousness of abundance, riches, opulence, prosperity. Everything is mine in Christ. Everything, what I like and what I do not like, is mine in Christ. But in Christ, I know what to think about it, and I know what to do with it. I know what to release, and I know what to hold on to. Isn't that fantastic? In Christ. In my Christ awakening. So you see, it's no longer about Jesus. We could just use him as an example of one who was willing to know his oneship with God, his unity with God, and say, I want that too. I want to know my unity with God, my oneship with God, because you see, then we fulfill all of Jesus' commandments. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy mind, all thy soul, and thy strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. Because you see, in my oneship with God, I have my oneship with you, and I have my oneship with you, and I have my oneship with you, and you, and you, and you, and you. I have it all, and I don't have to worry about you anymore, and I don't have to worry about them anymore, because I've been telling myself I have to worry about them. I don't know about you. Yes, I do. I know about a lot of you. And yes, we're worried about them, whoever them are. I'm not going to name names here or out there, but we're worried. And we get together, we talk about what a sad place the world is, and oh, how dangerous the world is, and oh, how it's changing. And I understand, because I too have those fears, and I don't want to anymore. And the only way to put down those fears is to accept my oneship with God. It is the only way to release my fear of you, is to accept my oneship with God. It's my only way to release fear, transform fear about health, about wealth, about harmony, about brotherhood and sisterhood, is by transforming my relationship and accepting my oneship with God. It is my only hope that I have, that I'm aware of. And so, how can I look at all of you and see you as my brothers and my sisters? And then look at all of you and see you as myself? How could I hurt you without hurting myself? How could I hurt any of them without hurting myself? So you see, it's not about us getting together to kill other people. And see, it's not about us wishing, oh, if this one were dead, if this one were gone, if this one would just evaporate, if this one, then I wouldn't have to be this way. No. If I would just learn how to love, if I would just learn how to get understanding of spiritual law and wisdom, if I would just do that, then if I would just accept my divinity, my oneship with God, I'd have no judgments. I'd have no concerns. I could walk forward, thinking what ought to be thought by me, saying what ought to be said by me, doing what ought to be done by me. I could walk forward daily in joy and peace and love and security. And all that I have to do is transform my thinking about my relationship to the source. That's all I have to do. We're going to go through a ritual here in a moment. And we go through it every year in the first week of Advent. And because part of Advent is about the hanging of the greens, well, they've already been hung. And most of them are synthetic. I have some live stuff here. But what we're going to do is we're all going to walk over to that tree and we're going to decorate it. Teresa's going to help me over there. We're going to reach into the bookstore and we're going to take an ornament and you're going to place it wherever you want on the tree. And then I invite you to take one of these that I personally written around and broke the cinnamon. And it's a cinnamon stick with a piece of greenery. It smells wonderful. And I invite you all year long to have this someplace, by your computer, by someplace that your nightstand, wherever you will see it. And every time you see it, you affirm, the Christ in me is awake now. But today, as you come over and you take your ornament and you put it on the tree and you take this from the basket, I'm going to have the microphone on a mic stand. And I encourage you to affirm, the Christ in me is awake now. Are you all willing to play along? Yes. Let's start with you guys over there and follow me.